So before Sally comes to speak to us this morning, we're just going to watch a video of a client that has gone through the CAP process. This is explains a little bit of what CAP is about. If you don't know what CAP is, Sally's going to explain, but it's around our debt service that we run here, but it's obviously a national charity that works. So we're just going to watch the video, and then we'll introduce Sally to come and speak to us.
Looking back on it, it's actually quite frightening. And I'm not a guy that frightens easily, but that, looking back on it, it is actually quite frightening that he got to that point.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's it.
You must be Becky.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
So this is your house
This is
here then?
Shakespeare, yes.
Can I keep my shoes on?
Yes, no problem. So lovely to meet you. Can I do your tea or anything?
My name's Sid. I'm 58 years old. In my younger life, I was well into sport, cricket, rugby, boxing. Used to get paid for playing cricket and rugby. Actually playing cricket with Ian Botham, Graham Hick, Tom Moody, virtually half the England side were at Worcester at that time. I seriously injured myself, which meant that my sporting career was not over, but it would never be professional as I wanted it to be. I was still able to play a bit of village cricket. I actually had an accident at work and something fell on my head, and they took me up and gave me an x-ray, and this lovely little chap came through and he said, "Oh, we found something that's not there, not supposed to be there." And I went, "Oh, you mean a brain?" And he said, "No, you've got a tumour." And I said, no, I'm indestructible, me, I don't get things like that. Can't happen to me. Brain tumour was operated on April 2015. Pretty much a year later, was diagnosed with Crohn's, which is quite a nasty stomach disorder. Admitted to hospital, and just before I was admitted to hospital, my mother passed away, who I've been looking after for a few years, quite suddenly as well. It turned out I was suffering from a very severe depression because of what had been going on. And obviously during that time as well, I was getting into debt without actually knowing I was getting into debt. I was on some quite heavy duty medication and it just spiralled. So pretty much everybody you could owe money to, I owed money to. The nurse came into the room and she said, "Can I get you anything?" I said, "No, just shut the door and let me die." I'd had enough. The will to fight it had just gone. So they looked after me in hospital and fixed the broken bits again and got me up and running. And when I came out, someone referred me or said to me, "If you've got problems, give these people a ring," and gave me a card. And when I got home is when I made the phone call to CAP. I tried to collect everything that was relevant to what was going on, so letters and bills and all the correspondence, and everything was explained, which puts you so much at ease because you actually, for the first time, know what's going on. And then Andrew said to me, "I'll give you some," he actually gave me a load of prepaid envelopes. "If anything comes, send this off to CAP. If they ask for anything, send this off to CAP. Here's an envelope, you don't have to worry about a stamp or anything." And for the first time think, crikey, there's a way out of this, you know. It was like a weight being lifted off my shoulders. Brilliant. That's when Andrew dropped the bombshell. "Did you fancy coming to church on Sunday, Sid?" So I said, "No, all right, no, that'd be nice. That'd be nice, come along." And I turned up knowing two people, Andrew and Chris. When I left, 20 plus people, see you next week, have a good week, see you next week. I'm going, crikey, it's a bit different, isn't it? They're all very nice. That was 4 years ago, but maybe a bit longer. And apart from the times when I've been in hospital, I've not missed a Sunday. I see things totally differently now. My whole attitude is different now. I wake up every day, and every day is now a lovely day.
And to watch the transformation, both physically and spiritually, to sort of lifting the real Sid back into life. It's almost like a resurrection type thing. From where he was, through the process to where he is. Full of spirit, full of life.
He gets involved in all the meetings we do, our small groups, our worship meetings, as well as our regular Sunday meetings. And we believe God is good and God can do things. And Sid is a testimony to that. So it's been a real delight and a pleasure for us.
Without Cap, Gary, Andrew and Chris and the church, I actually would rather not think about where I would be now. It really has made that much of a difference to my life. And unfortunately, with the current financial climate, it's with real sadness that I think Cap are only going to get busier. So people need to know that there are people out there who care, firstly, and secondly, can actually help. It's that sense of belonging and the sense of friendship. To me, it is priceless.
Great stuff. That's a brilliant video, isn't it? That just kind of really perfectly explains kind of the journey and the process of CAP and the need really as well. So it's great to have Sally with us. Sally, do you want to come up and join us? Let's welcome Sally this morning. Sally, you've travelled down from the depths of Norfolk today, haven't you?
Cromer, yes.
There you go.
Cromer.
Great stuff. And do you want what's your kind of role within CAP? What is it you do from the nerve centre of Cromer?
So I'm a home worker, so I work for CAP's central office, but fortunately I work from home. Moved there just over the summer holidays, and I work as a fundraiser. So some of you who maybe support CAP, you may have got an envelope through your door in the last couple of days with the Christmas appeal letter in. So I organise that. So I do things like that, and actually organised the resources for CAP Sunday this year as well. So I'm one of a team of fundraisers. So this is the first talk that I've done for CAP since I started working for the organisation in January.
Oh, fantastic. And so for someone from Cromer, the crabs obviously are very, very big there, but Lowestoft, obviously the herrings are the would you rather a herring or a crab for your lunch today?
I do like a roll mop, actually. If you've got a decent roll mop herring, I'm sure there's plenty of roll mop herrings, but I'm going to have to say crab, aren't I think.
Oh, there you go. But despite that, we'll forgive you. And we've been speaking about forgiveness this morning. So it's great. If you'd like to just kind of bring what God's put on your heart for us today, Sally, it's great. So thank you. It's really great to have you with us.
Thanks very much. Thank you. I've had such a lovely, warm welcome arriving here, which has been fantastic, because although I'm used to preaching and speaking, as I said, this is the first talk that I've done for CAP in an unfamiliar place, and I got the most lovely welcome from Joan this morning, who walked in and hugged me as if I'd known her for 20 years. And I had to kind of think, I had to really head check and go, do I know this? And it was lovely, lovely, warm Christian welcome. Thank you. And I want to caveat by saying that nothing that I say to you from this stage is really going to be as powerful as what Bev has already shared with you from the microphone, which is the real live impact of somebody who has been trapped in debt and who is released through the witness and the ministry and the volunteers and the passion and the love of the local church, following the example of Jesus Christ. And so her testimony there is going to be more powerful than anything that I'm able to say to you, but hopefully you'll listen to me anyway, which would be really lovely. You might have picked up in that video. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it as powerful as I did as we were trying to put the resources together. And seen maybe from the cards that are on your chair, the theme of Cap Sunday this year and what I want to talk about today is around the theme of lament and the journey from lament to hope. And by the time I come to the end of speaking in maybe 25 minutes or 30 minutes, I'm going to ask all of you to make a response to the words that I've said and the stories that have been told and the scripture that we've looked at. And the cards here are going to enable you to make a response. And there are different ways in which people can respond. There is a financial ask as part of that, but there are also other asks and other ways that you can support that don't involve giving. So there's going to be a way that everyone can listen to God's call for us to respond to the issues of debt and poverty and to make a response. We don't often talk about lament, do we? We don't often talk about it. I don't know if some of you will have seen around in various places, but in 1939, so quite a long while ago now, not many people here, anybody remember 1939? You remember 1939, so you will know, Jane will know this. So in 1939, at the start of World War II, the Ministry of Information designed a poster, which is just about as popular now as it was then. It's red and white, and it has a picture of a crown at the top, and it has 5 simple words on it. Does anybody know what those words are? Keep calm and carry on. Have you seen those around? It's had a bit of a resurgence in the last 10 years or whatever. And you can buy it now on mugs, on tea towels. And you can also see it sort of used with different words now. So I had a little look on the internet, and you can find keep calm and grow a beard. Not possible for all of us, although some of us do tweeze regularly to try and avoid growing a beard. And another one for knitters and crocheters, keep calm and carry yarn, which I quite liked. And some of you might have posters with these things on. And the poster and the slogan are timeless. And it was a national call during the time of World War II, of everybody to kind of press on, to keep going with life, to draw together, to come together, despite the threat of war and of damage to the country and loss of life. But it's come to kind of epitomise or sum up British stoicism, that kind of idea of having the stiff upper lip. And our culture really encourages that. It encourages us to keep calm, to carry on, to soldier on through adversity, and not let our emotions interfere. Now, don't get me wrong. Perseverance, resilience, all these things are essential qualities. But if this feels like the only acceptable way that we can deal with difficulties that we face in life, then what do we do when we feel like we're in anguish? What do we do when our hearts are hurting or when we're fearful? What do we do in the face of pain or when we're confronted with injustice around us? You know, we know, don't we, that brushing things under the carpet, pretending that pain and difficulty doesn't exist, isn't good for us. It's not good for our mental health. So what if there's a different way to respond when our hearts are hurting and our hearts are breaking? Is that all right? I feel like I moved it and it got loud. Is it too loud? It's okay. I'm hearing myself in a slightly scary way. Today we're going to look at that other way to respond, and it's a way to respond to pain and difficulty that God gives us as a gift, and it's called lament. And lament is not very familiar to us, as we've said, and it's very countercultural, but it's an important response to the injustice and the pain that we might experience in our own lives and that we might see happening around us in our communities. It is the heartfelt and the passionate cry of a hurting soul and of holding that pain and that hurt before God. And although God has given us lament as a tool, as a gift to deal with pain, it's not often something that we see in the church. We might see a praise and thanksgiving time of worship or a praise or thanksgiving service on a church bulletin. When was the last time we saw a service for sorrow or grief? But if we look in the Bible and look at the example in Scripture, we can see people who allowed themselves to be moved by the pain that they were experiencing and by the pain of others. And when we see that, we also see this practice of lament coming from the words and responses of those people. And that's particularly exemplified through the prophets. And one of the prophets, Jeremiah, was in fact known as the weeping prophet. He was a prophet who spent most of his life calling on God's people, the nation of Israel, to repent and live the life that they were called to live their lives in relationship with God. But the people didn't listen to Jeremiah. They were eventually captured by the Babylonians, and Jeremiah saw his people with their freedom and their home taken away, living outside of relationship with God. And he saw their pain and despair, and he stopped and he felt that pain and despair and that heartbreak for himself. It broke his heart. And he was moved by this to write a whole book of lamentation about what he saw and how he felt. And here's a flavour of the book from Lamentations 2. My eyes fail from weeping. I am in torment within. My heart is poured out on the ground because my people are destroyed. Jeremiah is not keeping calm and carrying on. He's not maintaining a stiff upper lip at the situation around him and the pain that he is witnessing. Instead, he cries out to God, feeling fully that pain of those around him and not shutting it out. And he cried out to God. And that crying out to God in pain, that lament, is not complicated. It's simply putting into words how we're feeling, as Jeremiah does here, and to state the circumstances around us and honestly bring that pain before God. But for me, if we want to look at how to hold and respond to the pain around us, what better place could we look than our Saviour, Jesus Christ? and see how he responds and holds the pain of the people that he meets. Jesus was not a cold operator. Jesus did not keep calm and carry on in the face of the pain of others. Instead, when we look at Jesus, we see a man who was deeply, deeply moved by the pain and suffering of others. And some of my favorite encounters, I'm sure we've all got our favorite encounters of Jesus when he meets with people. But all of my favorite encounters that Jesus has with people has one thing in common. It's almost invariably when Jesus is on his way to do something else. So he's on his way and busy. When he meets someone or comes across a situation and then has a choice as to whether he wants to keep calm and carry on with whatever he's doing or stop and engage with the person in a suffering or difficult situation. I have some examples because they're so wonderful. So Luke chapter 8, Jesus is walking with Jairus. And he's going with Jairus because Jairus' daughter is sick and she's dying. And Jesus is going to go and do this. It's a really important situation. However, on the way, as he's walking along, a woman touches the hem of his clothes. And this woman has had menstrual bleeding for 12 years. Now, not only is that an awful medical condition, but for her, that means social exclusion, social ostracization. She is not welcome. This is a blight on her life. And Jesus has the choice. He keep calm and carry on, or does he stop and meet with this woman's pain and have a conversation with her and show her love and compassion? And Jesus stops and he acknowledges her in front of the whole crowd of people who wouldn't have spoken or engaged with this woman in 12 years. He gives her love, he gives her dignity, he brings her healing in such a full and complete way. And it's absolutely amazing. Luke 7, Jesus visits a town and is surrounded by people, as he was in so many places, absolutely surrounded by need and people who want to talk to him and engage with him. And in the midst of all this busyness and noise, a coffin comes past, and a woman, a widow, whose only son has died. Now for her, the pain and the anguish of losing a child is enough, but this situation also means destitution for this woman. She has no husband. She has no son now. Who will take care of her? Who will look after her? And surrounded by all this, again, Jesus has the option, keep calm, carry on, or do I allow myself to feel the pain of this widow, this woman who is in anguish? Do I stop and engage with compassion? And Jesus stops. He has compassion. He engages with her. He raises her son from the dead and gives her her life and her hope back again. And the last one that I thought of, Matthew 14. In Matthew 14, we see one of the only stories that is in all four of our gospel stories, which is feeding. And it depends which version you're reading, exactly how many people it is. But Jesus feeds an enormous crowd, thousands of hungry people through a miracle. But when we look at Matthew's gospel, Matthew chapter 14, it immediately follows. There's a little snippet at the end where Jesus is told that John the Baptist has died. That is what happens immediately before this feeding miracle in Matthew 14. And John the Baptist is Jesus' childhood friend. They met each other when they were in the womb, when Mary and Elizabeth hug and they recognize each other. This is his own pain and anguish. And so when it says Jesus went off in a boat to be alone, it's because he doesn't want to be around people. The humanity in him is saying, I want to go and grieve. I want to go and cry somewhere for my own pain. And yet when he arrives and gets out the boat, there's all these people around him and they want more. And I just, I have 2 little kids and 5,000 people follow me around. And every now and again, I'm just like, would you just go away and leave me alone? I just want to be on my own. We all know that feeling. I mean, I'm a bit of an introvert, but I'm getting some nods. We all know that feeling. I'm sure some of your pastors know that feeling sometimes in ministry, occasionally of feeling that overwhelm. But when he gets out and he sees these people who are sick and hungry, even then in his own pain, he doesn't keep calm and carry on. He stops. He heals the sick. He feeds the people who are hungry. And he has compassion. And that compassion is not skin deep. That compassion it's raw and inside. That the root word that's often used for compassion in the Gospels, it literally refers to internal organs. That's what it means when it says Jesus had compassion. He was churned up in his guts when he saw people who were suffering. And the word compassion literally means suffer with, to enter into other people's pain. And Jesus is the exemplar. He is the model for suffering with the poor, the hungry, the homeless, the sick, the ostracized. And even more than that, what is even more incredible is he doesn't just suffer with them, he identifies with them. In Matthew 25, when Jesus is talking about the sheep and the goats and how we will sort between in the end times, those who have cared and those who have not cared, the language that's used is, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Jesus identifies directly with those who are in pain and suffering. Their pain becomes his pain. And he shares all that pain with his heavenly Father. Jesus laments. Friends, UK poverty, what's happening at the moment with the rising cost of living, the impact which may be felt by many of us here, but the impact that's being felt primarily on the most vulnerable people in our society is a reason for us to lament. God is calling on us to lament. This year we are experiencing the highest rates of inflation for decades. We all know that. And the Food Foundation reported earlier this year that 7 million adults missed main meals in April 2022 due to rising costs. The energy cap rise means fuel bills are going to become unaffordable for many, especially people who are on prepayment meters, who are being forced onto prepayment meters because of the rising costs. And according to the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, at the end of 2021, 3.8 million people on the lowest incomes had fallen behind on paying their bills. And right now in the UK, right here in your own community, your neighbours, your streets, maybe even in your own households, there are people who are living in the middle of very real poverty. People with empty cupboards and fridges and stomachs. Fathers who are unable to heat a cold and damp home, or a mother for whom basic sanitary products are out of reach. There may have been stories that you've heard on the news, on the radio, that might have struck you particularly. There are some that have stuck with me. And it's really hard, isn't it, to listen to these statistics. But it's even more difficult to know that these aren't statistics. These are real people. These are real lives and individuals of people who are made in the image of God, who are loved by God and are as precious to God as each and every person here and around the world. And this is a reason to lament. And at CAP, we want to stand alongside the church to lament with those who are living in poverty and who are facing worsening conditions due to the cost of living crisis. And in a little while, I would like to invite you to take some time to offer your own prayers of lament and to offer them before God. However, God's purpose of lament, and incidentally the purpose of my sermon, is not that it leaves us in a place of darkness or despair or depression. Because it's in the midst of lament, it's in the process of lifting that pain before God that we find hope. Because we can't not sit in the presence of the living God and find hope. Because God is hope, God is light, and God is love. Listen to some more words of Jeremiah in the midst of his lament. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And so in the middle of Jeremiah's pain and lament for his country, for what he was seeing around him, he was confronted with the compassion and the love of God, which is never, never ending. And it's the same compassion and love that we see in the life and example of Jesus, who doesn't keep calm and carry on, but stops and offers the love that brings transformation and hope into people's lives. And that is the same transformation and hope that CAP wants to offer to all people who are trapped in a life of debt and poverty in the UK. And we partner with churches just like yours to offer that ministry of compassion and hope and release from debt and poverty. I'm going to invite Caroline to come up now. I thought it would be much more powerful. I think you've had John Kirkby here. I was told you had John Kirkby come to speak. Is that right? Who told me that? No, you're nodding, but you're shaking. No, did you? Not John Kirkby, but somebody else. I'm glad it wasn't John Kirkby, because he's supposed to be like the most powerful speaker in in all of CAP. So I really wouldn't want the comparison. So I'm quite glad you didn't have him. It's much more powerful for you to hear the impact and what's happening with the debt centre here that you are all part of on supporting, whether you support that financially, whether you support it through prayer, whether you're a volunteer. Now, I am used very much to standing in front of people and talking. I quite enjoy it. Caroline has a very different kind of ministry. And an absolutely vitally important one, but she's feeling a little bit nervous. But she doesn't need to, does she? No, because you're all friends, and we just want to hear a little bit about that local impact and what's happening through what the church is doing here. So I'm going to ask Caroline some questions, and we can just hear a little bit more about how you are engaging with compassion through the ministry here and moving people from lament to hope. So Caroline, for anyone here that doesn't really know anything about CAP at all, or very much about how we work to help people, can you explain quickly what you do with CAP and how CAP kind of helps people to get out of debt?
Yes, so the video gave a little bit of a flavour of that, really. So once somebody has booked into and asked for an appointment with CAP, the details are then sent through to us. And then we have 3 appointments. So very much like in Sid's journey, I and somebody else will go and have these appointments. On the first appointment, we just really introduce ourselves, say we're from the church, take them through a video that talks a little bit more about CAP and how the service works, and then talk about what information they need to get together for the next appointment. The next one is a long appointment and gathers all the financial information that we need in order to send to head office, where the debt advisors will then look at that information and then give their advice on how the client can become debt free. And then once that information is received back, I'll then go back again with the volunteer, and we'll go through that information, whatever that might be, whatever the advice is. But the thing about CAP is that, one, we're able to do it in people's homes, which doesn't necessarily happen with other debt advice agencies. So we're able to really meet with people. And then the other thing is that we'll stand alongside them and CAP head office will really work with these people until they do become debt free. So nothing ever stays the same. Things are always changing, for our finances, but for everybody. And they'll just really work with them until they do become debt free.
And I've talked a little bit this morning about the rising cost of living, and everybody will be aware of the financial situation. What are you seeing at the moment in the debt centre in terms of the cost of living crisis, and is it having an impact on the people that you're meeting with and serving?
Yeah, so there's a few different things that I've noticed. Is one, really this time of year, people are more focused on Christmas, and so the appointments tend to come through a little bit more sporadically. People will not necessarily book in, but wait until after Christmas. Those appointments are still coming in, and the demand has increased. So my next appointment would be the middle of February. So yeah, the demand has definitely increased. And then also, as those appointments come through, because CAP have spoken to them and they will have talked to them about their situation, they will have asked about food and fuel and those sort of things. So as the appointments are coming through now, there's also more of an immediate need for something. So for a shop because they're short of food, or because of a fuel top-up, which we are able to help with, because you fundraise and have an emergency fund. So yeah, we're able to support with that. But that's increasing. The number of people that are needing help straight away is increasing. And then the other thing that I know CAP as a whole are really finding is that people's budgets, when they are being put together, are becoming much tighter and aren't always, even once they've gone debt free, sustainable or even working, because of the cost of living, because of how much fuel is costing now, and food and everything, and the level of income. So there's a lot of much tighter budgets, or budgets that are broken.
Yeah, it's interesting that we, I think it was by the time we got to October, we'd given out twice as many emergency vouchers as we had in 2021. So that's for emergency kind of top-ups for electricity and gas meters, and also food parcels as well. So it's showing that kind of rise in emergency needs. We talked a little bit about lament and sort of sharing in the pain of other people. What's it like to kind of do that in the work you're doing with CAP, to enter into the pain of others? Do you find it hard?
It is hard, and it is tough, and sometimes I'll come out and, I'll have shed a tear. Those situations can be really, really hard for people. So you do what you can do, but that there's some things like illness and grief and those sort of things where there is the pain there, but actually you can't take that away. You have to take it to God.
And does your faith help you with that?
Yeah, completely. That, my faith means that when I go into the homes and when I see clients, that I'm not dealing with it in my own strength. I've got God with me, and God knows that person so much better than what I know them. Even if they share quite a lot of information, he still knows them a whole lot better than what I know them. And He's for them, and I can. It's like that. You see that pain, and you quite often when I dog walk, actually, I'll pray about different clients, and if I get on a bit of a you know, how can you see a way out of it? Where is the hope? If you don't fix that, and quite often God says, "Oh, look to the skies," and because it's you know, it's either early in the morning or it's as the sun is setting. The skies are beautiful, and you see that, and you think, "Oh yeah, I'm praying to the Creator of the universe, and He's so much bigger and can do so much more."
So in the midst of, you know, what is a difficult ministry in a difficult context where you can't always sort of fix everything for everyone, where's the hope for you?
Yeah, it is in the fact that actually we are bringing relief. We are, you know, might not bring relief in every circumstance, but we're there doing the financial side of things, which impacts on other areas of people's lives as well. It's you know, it's the health, the mental well-being, the worry and the anxiety, and all of the sleeplessness, all of those things that go alongside of not having enough food or not having enough fuel, and knocks on the doors and the debts coming through the envelopes. It's knowing that we can make a difference in that situation, and actually as well we're going in as well and taking God into that situation.
Could you maybe tell us about someone who's stayed on your heart in terms of some of the clients that you've worked with?
So I've got a couple. So one really is someone said to me, "You'll always remember the first person that goes debt-free for your centre." And yeah, I do. And we did have a little bit of a clip of him. I did show a bit of a video of him talking. But one of the things that he said to me as soon as he went debt-free is, "I wake up now," a little bit like what Sid said. He said, "I wake up now with a smile on my face, knowing that I don't have to worry about my debts anymore. And this has given me a purpose to live again." And I thought that statement always stays with me. And then also my very first client I heard this week, so the first person that I ever saw as the debt centre is about to go debt-free probably this month, maybe next month. He's almost there. And when he first started, he had a lot of debt, and it was because he had such a small amount of income, it really looked like this could take years and years and years. But CAP have worked really, really hard. He'd had an industrial injury, so they've worked really hard communicating with the creditors and speaking on his behalf. And he's paid in faithfully every month the amount that he's been asked to pay in. And so, yeah, he's going to go debt-free. And I said to him, we're going to really celebrate that because he's worked so hard as well.
It's fantastic. One last question. So what can we, if you were to make an ask, what can we here do to support you and the volunteers in your ministry in CAP?
Well, primarily prayer. You know, we've often said in the past that things happen then when we pray that don't happen when we don't. So yeah, just really remembering not just the work of CAP, but the food bank and all of those projects, just really praying into them and asking for breakthrough. So not that we're just always meeting an immediate need, but meeting their need in finding Jesus as a saviour as well. And then actually next weekend we have an event. We have a meal. We're putting on a meal for some of the guys from these projects as well. And so yeah, if we could just pray into that as well, that would be a really good success. Phil is going to be bringing a short talk to them and a gospel, I think. So that would be really good. And then, yeah, as obviously for me as CAP, as we see more and more clients come, we just need to grow the team. So we need more people that are willing to walk alongside and befriend and to catch up for coffee and, yeah, just give them what Sid said, like a family.
Thank you so much. Can we give a big round of applause to Caroline? Thank you so much. I hope you'll feel like you know a little bit more about the ministry and can feel really proud actually of what of what your church is doing in the community in the light of Jesus and the hope that that's bringing to people who are in the middle of difficult situations and who are worried about the future. I'm going to talk about the response now. I don't know if maybe the band want to come up and just get ready while I do this part, and then we can be ready to kind of to move with that response. So what I'm asking this morning is that I mean all of us, we're not prepared to keep calm and carry on in the face of the suffering of people in this country, that we recognise the pain of those who are living in debt and in poverty, and that we're prepared to stop, as Jesus did, to engage with compassion, to engage with the pain of others, and to bring that hope into our nation and into people's lives, that we're prepared to do something. You'll find a couple of cards. We didn't have quite enough for every chair. So if you're on a chair that doesn't have one, you should be able to see a chair that does have some on quite close, I think. So just grab them. There's one of those cards that enables you to give, and enables you to give monthly to CAP. If you already give monthly to CAP and you're a life changer, thank you. Particularly in this cost of living crisis, thank you for continuing to give. It really is a life-changing gift for those who are living in debt and poverty. If you don't give monthly to CAP, I'd like to ask you to consider whether that's something that you could do. A gift of £11.50 would enable our central head office to be able to answer the very first call that somebody like Sid, somebody like the clients that Caroline works with, to take that very first call from somebody who is living in that situation of pain and lament, and to start to turn that into hope. £11.50 a month. Of course, that's just a suggestion. If you want to give more, great. If you need to give less, great. All of those monthly gifts will make an enormous difference and will change lives. If you want to give, but you want to make it a one-off, you can use the same form, but just write in big letters at the top, one-off gift, and we will make sure that that is processed correctly. But please think about whether you can give monthly or one-off to support the ministry. But if you do give, please make sure that it is above and beyond what you might already be giving to your local debt centre. We don't want to take any money from your local debt centre into CAP Central. Both the local centre and CAP have to work together. It's a partnership that has to work together to make sure we work with clients properly. The other response you've got on your seats is a lament prayer card. This is an opportunity for you to write your own prayer of lament, to lift the pain that you feel about the rising cost of living, those who are suffering, those who are going to be in difficulty, and to write that prayer down. Doesn't need to be fancy, doesn't have to sound like a psalm. It can just be, oh God, this is really rubbish. If that's what you're feeling, just use your own words, what comes from you. I'd love everybody to write a prayer of lament. And we are taking those prayers of lament to a big service in Westminster, where we will hold thousands of these supporter prayers together, bring together the prayers of our nation for UK poverty. There'll be some church leaders there, there'll be some politicians there, and we will feel the power of that prayer. So please write the prayer, and if you feel able to, I would love you to put your contact details in there so we can show you how you can watch a live streamed version of that service, and also so we can keep you in touch with some things that CAP's doing. If you don't feel you're ready to give regularly to CAP yet, that's fine, but we would love to be able to let you know about some of the other ways that you can get involved through prayer, through campaigning. So please fill that in. We're going to have a time of worship now, and some time for you to just sit down, to look at those cards, to write your prayers, to pray and see what God's asking you to do, and to give if you're able to. And also remember, Caroline, I think, will be at the back with me. If you want to hear more about how you can volunteer at your local centre, how you can befriend people, then please do that. Do you want to start to play quietly, and I'll just pray. I'll just pray to get us going, and then please do listen to God and how God is leading. Oh, Father God, we cry out to you. We cry out for those who are in pain and distress, For those who don't know how they might feed their children, how they might heat their homes, how they will pay for the fuels for their cars so that they can continue to get to work to earn the money that they need. We pray for those for whom finance is only one of a big set of complex and difficult problems that they can't see the way out of. And God, we don't have the answers. But we know that you are calling us not to just keep calm and carry on in the face of the pain of others, but to stop, to have compassion, to share their pain. Lord, break our hearts for those whose hearts are broken and for those who feel hopeless. But God, we trust in you. We trust in your light and your love. And we trust in the hope and the transformation that we know you can bring through the ministries, through the ministry here of CAP and the other ministries, the food bank, all the other ministries that this church supports. And so we pray that you would speak to us now, speak to our hearts about how we can respond, about how we can share the pain of others, and about how you can use us to build your kingdom, and how you can use us to change lives for your name and for your glory. Amen.